Sifu catches Helanu! That is huge! They've amped out the embers of Beyond's offensive core! Let's hope they've enough damage to back it up! Spiritedbook though will not be denied! Ripped out! Ian swept away! Paranoid to the sky with a double! Holy crap! Stand! Break the curse! Rampage there for Sifu! He is died for them after 4 long seasons of setbacks and second places! The Oscar goes to Book and the Bad News Bears! They will take Glacier Finals!
Trying to go on me. Terrific kick.
He's an army ult on me. He's an army ult on me.
Naja ult on me. Take this fight, boys. We win it.
Yeah.
Don't let them back. Don't let them back.
I'm just starting.
All right, boys. Let's become champions. Run this shit down. Is Nami? Is Nami? She's here. She's here. Kill her. Kill her. Kill her. Titan. Still ult.
Go get her.
Go straight to Titan. That's your ult down.
Go Titan. That's game, boys.
That's game.
Marshall
You gotta take this. You gotta take this.
National
Let's fucking go.
champions.
Let's fucking go. Shred it. Get us out of this game. Now let's go big. G fucking shit, boys.
Here we go, boys.
Let's fucking go.
That's 10 all. He's half. Come back.
Nice.
10 seconds.
Yeah, just work.
I'm up in 9.
Nice.
Good damage.
Be careful, this one. Nice. Run.
Nice.
Dude, get the fuck out of here, dude. And hello and welcome. It happens, man. Hello and welcome to the. I did the thing. Welcome to the Wars of Albion Greenroom podcast. I'm Spiritedbook, once again joined here by my co-host way over there this time because we got someone in the middle. It's yeah. I got Hydra, and then it's the goat themselves, Anthony Malum. How you doing, Anthony?
Well, geez, I'll take that. Thank you. I'm doing great. It's cool to join you guys in this. I did watch the first one. I think it's cool that someone's actually doing some content around the amateur stuff, especially to the depth of talking about, their org. I think that's awesome. So thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Love to have you here, man. Love to have you here, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, this is Hydra and I have done this before way back when, and I feel like we just love creating content like this. And I feel like there's really a huge lack of stuff like this, like it's just... There's just not enough content in the amateur scene, and it really is just a well of potential content, in my opinion. There's always so much drama, one could say, and so it's cool to just kind of fill that void a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this is the Wars of Albion Green Room podcast, and you're obviously the goat caster themselves here that likes to hang out in OSL. And what has been your experience so far working with OSL?
I really like working with OSL. I started working with OSL casting kind of around the same time I started branching off to other leagues after I stopped being just kind of only doing casting for SDL. I want to say it was probably around like maybe April of a couple years ago, 2023, maybe a little bit after that, closer to June. But no, I really enjoy it. Now my title is creative director, but really it's just the kind of the fun title we picked. It's more of just like making content every now and again, and sometimes coming up with different content ideas. Whenever there's one-off events, doing some, certain like random graphic designs or intro videos like we might have seen during the draft and stuff like that. And, also getting to host and cast obviously is probably the biggest thing overall.
Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, I'm a big fanboy. I don't think there's not really many players out there that like have not wanted to get cast, like get their game casted by the Anthony Goat. So like, can you tell us like a little bit about like maybe like what goes into like making a really good and like memorable cast? Like, what's like some of your favorite things that you get to do during casting and stuff like that?
Sure. I think probably the biggest thing, the most like simple thing that I could explain with it is. And maybe this is why in the amateur leagues, like I feel pretty proud of the fact that there are people that want me to cast their finals or, their random Tuesday week 2 set, whatever it might end up being. I think a big part of it is, in the most simple terms I can possibly put it, because I hate talking about myself, is that I try to treat every single game, like no matter the scale, even if my casting comes across different, every game to me, I try to treat it like it's a grand finals of a Worlds at LAN. I just try to have as much fun as possible because genuinely I'm enjoying it that much. I genuinely just really like casting Smite. It's not like a thing I'm phoning in, or I'm not yelling for the sake of yelling. It's just that I'm genuinely enjoying it, and I try to make it feel, at least to myself, I try to make it feel like it's that important of a game, because then it makes everyone enjoy watching it a little bit more, because it doesn't feel as it doesn't feel like it's an amateur game. It feels like it's more important than it is, especially if it is a finals, and it is really important.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same opinion of, like, whenever I cast, I always try to treat it well. And I think, especially in the amateur scene, I think once you get to like Pro League and stuff, the way they treat casts is a little different. But especially in the amateur scene, I think it's the players who really do appreciate like that level of like oomph that is given into their casts, and like the hype. Like, even if they only do end up getting casted once, I mean, we have so many games in OSL every week in every division that it's hard to cover everyone. And so I think when that team does get that spotlight on it with a hype moment and with a hype caster such as yourself, it really makes them feel good and makes them enjoy this hobby that they kind of have all that much more.
Yeah, exactly. No, sure. And I really like what you said too about it does change at levels, because it is like that in the amateur scene too. Like when you cast a Creed game, there's just going to be Creed games that are they're Creeding all over the place, and you got to kind of bring it down a little bit, but you can still have fun with it. And I think a lot of times at the Pro League, especially, it's sort of misunderstood what they try to pull off. But it's because in the Pro League, everyone's already that good. Yeah, so the exciting moments are a little bit fewer and far between. They're a bit more rare. You got to be able to make all the stuff work. When in the amateur scenes, we love to fight. So odds are you're getting team fights 90% of the game. You can get super excited about, which makes that really, really fun to do. And thankfully, there's people like you mentioned, Book. You've had a few really exciting casts I've got to listen to. There's people like D-Lo out there, Fisher. Like there's so many casters I can name who do that same exact thing of making everything feel special, which is so important. Our amateur scene really stands out, especially compared to some others I have cast for. Like, I won't name games, but Halo.
Yeah.
I find that's so valid. Yeah.
We have the best like tier 2 like amateur scene, I think. Like the tier 1s, I think like Rocket League and like League of Legends, for example, like they kind of have.
Let me tell you, the Rocket League players would be really happy to hear you call it tier 1 of your sport.
Are they not?
You just made someone's night.
Listen,
are they not?
They're swinging a jersey like in midair.
Well,
right
they
now.
used to be.
Yeah, they're like, he said it.
I think they
like
used
someone
to
clip
be,
it and ship it.
But then they got bought out by what was it, Epic Games or whatever, and now they're not a tier 1 esport, I guess. Like, I don't know how that.
Yeah, it's all it's all
tier 1 in their hearts,
Exactly.
But I do
because you can call it, because people can call it a tier 2, but then they pull 80,000 for grand finals for their London majors and stuff like that. So it depends.
Okay. The big ones. It's like, it's the big ones that matter. But yeah, I mean, like, you're here to hang out and talk with us about some stuff. Let's talk about the amateur scene as a whole right now. What are your thoughts on our current situation for Smite? Because not to like be really negative or whatever, but like personally, I feel like we're in a very precarious situation. Smite 1 is on the way out. Smite 2 is on the way in. And with no Pro League, with no real pro scene, we really do just have SCCC coming out of High Res right now, which has been phenomenal and fantastic to watch. I've enjoyed watching the SDF GOAT make his way, trying to qualify for LAN, unable to do so. But
it was close.
It was so close.
One game away.
Yep, one game away.
They were so close. But they don't end up qualifying, and that kind of sucks. But like outside of that, we really haven't had the same level of content. And I'm just curious what your kind of thoughts are on that.
Well, I've always been a very glass half full person. That's just kind of genuinely how I am. I feel like it's a little easier to operate that way.
Yeah.
But with everything going on, I know exactly what you mean, and it's hard not to kind of feel like the frustration of, man, it's taking so long to feel like this year has like, a lot of people use the word relevance or meaning.
I will cut in a little bit just because I do think this is important. this is some of the most fun Smite I've had in a hot second.
Yeah,
in terms of
it's great right now.
Yeah,
I've been casting just as much, and I can tell you like it's been just as fun, if not more fun. Team fights are more crazy, you know. Chair 2s are having more to actually dissect because now you've got more items back in the game, more build paths are opening up because people can actually die.
So
We're seeing
much
characters
variety.
we haven't seen in a long time. Exactly. That's before Tuesday, which I know we're talking about patch notes in a bit. But that's before Tuesday, where we see even more new characters come back. But overall, I think the amateur scene's in a better state than people would give it credit for.
Okay.
Because the fact that there even is one that's not thriving but existing and confidently existing. I mean, you can say what you want about gem funding, you know, the awkwardness of Smite 1 going into Smite 2 on August 27th when the closed alpha does begin for people who, you know, have it and everything. You can make the argument it's in an awkward state, but none of the leagues, for the most part, are in a position of shutting down. It's more of just, all right, what do we want to do? Do we want to do another Smite 1? Do we want to do a Smite 2? I know OSL has had the same discussion and consideration since that's the main topic of this podcast, but it's kind of just the idea of like, well, what do we want to do? But we're doing something. And that I think is really important to keep in mind. And I also think that it's really, really difficult to kind of look into the future as amateur leagues because you simply don't know the full spectrum of what you're going to get. Because if you were, I'm sure you guys have heard this plenty, before they did the first Alpha Weekend tournament that was broadcast, there was an idea of like, oh, well, we're not going to get any this year, you know, like we're not getting anything like that. And we got a tournament. You know, you can say what you want about it being early state, yada yada yada, spectator, you know.
Hey, we made top 8. Me and Sifu made top 8.
I know. I was watching the bracket that day in between my breaks.
Oh, stunted by an SCC
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't kind of hoping. Because I like, for example, I know Baron Aries team made it really far. I got to cast them a little bit during it. I was really happy I got to do that. Just seeing names I recognized.
Yeah.
But no, I think the amateur scene's in a better spot than people really understand, especially again, you know, comparing it to other places, because a lot of the stuff that we do have is kind of rare. Like the fact we get gem funding and, you know, features on the main channel and things like that. It really is rare in games like Halo, Call of Duty, iRacing, or 3 games that come to the top of my brain that I've cast for a fair bit. And it's a completely different experience. You're completely on your own. Any prizes are self-funded. You get nothing. You just exist. You're lucky you're lucky as a caster if you get like $5, let alone anything at all.
True.
For your time you're volunteering. Don't even get me started on the players, because you might in Halo play for 6 weeks just to win a championship that is
good for
you.
Prize.
Yeah.
That's it.
So but no, I think I'm very hopeful. I'm pretty bullish on Smite 2. I mean, obviously I'm a little biased in that department, but I'm really bullish on Smite 2, and I do think it'll be fun to play and great to play. I'm really excited to see stuff they do for amateur.
Yes.
And they being amateur leagues. I'm excited to see what people do to be creative with it, because we haven't gotten to ever experience the launch of a new Smite with amateur leagues existing. I mean, amateur leagues were existing in Smite 1 for a long time, but you know, the very earliest days, there was a lot of tournaments, but there wasn't Olympus Smite League and Albion Giants League that were these big established amateur leagues. And we have that going in. So I'm expecting to see some really cool stuff.
Nice. Okay.
I think that's a really good point, honestly. Just to circle back, I mean, like, there was really nothing like what we have currently now with amateur Smite when Smite like first started. I think that's like a really, really interesting point. And it excites me. One thing I think that amateur Smite, at least to me, maybe some people feel differently, but I think it feels the best it's felt in a really, really long time.
The last couple of years, it's definitely had a big jump upward, and I think part of that is because of the there's no pro play, and while no place has really seen SPL viewer numbers or anything crazy like that, I think it's totally fair to say people have been watching amateur Smite who cared that much to kind of fill that void. I know for me, I've always watched all the amateur leagues, but this year, kind of stepped it up a bit with that, just because it's Smite to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, no SPL kind of made playing in the amateur leagues a lot more freeing, because it was like, this, Paul is the goated mid laner. Everyone build what Paul's building. That's not a thing anymore.
Yep.
So everyone has to experiment, and people are like really like tweaking and testing their builds, and like, that little bit of like game knowledge and skill expressions coming through. I think a lot more like ADCs. I can't tell you when ADC is building the same build right now, and that's wild to me. Like that's actually insane to me. It's so wild. As a support player, like I'll boot up the game and I'll be laning with somebody and I'll see someone with like Aussie Dom and then next game it's like Devs Deathbringer. I'm like, okay, what's going on here, man? So
and I will say too, and I'm not like I'm not giving away anything major that any of the league owners are working on, but I will say a lot of the leagues are working on cool stuff that can apply to Smite 1, can apply to Smite 2, that genuinely have not reached the ears of people past those admin chats of those leagues. So I really do think there's cool stuff that the leagues are working on that's independent, and also some that have some backing and some support and some interest. I really do think there's some cool stuff that's not necessarily on the horizon, but not that far away either.
Yeah. And I think like with Smite 2, I mean, it's sad. We'll see the death of Smite 1. It's not like Overwatch where it's an update. Like eventually Smite 1 will close. It's kind of sad to think about a little bit, but also
I've got takes on that too, because I stand by that if Overwatch 2 hadn't happened, that might have been the case with Smite 1, where we might have seen a hard close and like, all right, let's everyone on board.
Yeah, I agree. Overwatch, I think, not the best game and not in the best game state compared to what it used to be and getting the height and numbers it used to be. But yeah, we're not here to talk about Overwatch. Let's talk about Smite. Tuesday, patch dropped, and I got some takes here.
So excited.
I'm so excited. As we go over here, we'll be able to follow along and watch these patch notes. They click this button. Bam. All right.
King Reese pulling a Commander Shepard. AGL's my favorite league in the amateur scene. OSL's my favorite league in the amateur scene.
There you go.
Like, I respect your opinion for having that opinion. Yeah.
So we got some cool skins. Some bombastic skins. Big fan of this Mulan skin.
Agreed.
Some updates to Joust. That's pretty cool. Some item balances. All makes sense.
They didn't care who I was until I put on the mask. That's all I gotta say.
Fighters
and protectors. Power, baby.
I mean, like, we could talk about these. I don't think, outside of maybe this change being the most impactful out of all the balance changes, Erendite being purchased on Hunters, Fail Not being purchased on Assassins and Warriors. I think the Fail Not change a little more significant than the Erendite change personally, but
aside from AMC.
Yeah, but even AMC, I don't know.
I love watching it. I've seen a couple of Erendite AMCs. It looks so funny.
It's got to go crazy. Yeah. I will say, I'm a big Cannoneers believer. Like that item has to be OP.
Sure.
It's 30 each prot, 300 HP, and it's 1850. Like, I'm rushing that, dude.
But yeah, I mean, Sprint got some changes, Meditation got some changes, Bracer got some buffs, which is nice. Barrier, biggest buff of the patch, obviously.
Like
I already was kind of a barrier guy, not gonna lie. Yeah,
exactly.
But
I'm the barrier baron. I love that relic.
Let's talk about the re-edition of items that were missing from Smite game. Fatalis has been re-added. With the removal of that is Toxic Blade. Excuse me. Relic Dagger's been just attuned to that tree. Ikavel back in the game. Stone Cutting back in the game. Hecate back in the game.
Woo.
All the items that used to be like these sort of either tanky but also power items like Onsile, like Bruiser. What do they call them? Not Bruiser, but there's another word for it.
Hybrid items.
That's it.
Yep.
Onsile, Nemean, which we'll talk about Nemean, I think, in length. I hate this item. And then
congrats to the Twitter account, though.
They fought so long and hard.
We got new old Glad Shield, Shifters, and God Balances. But we'll get to God Balances later. But let's talk about items. What is everyone's favorite re-edition and least favorite re-edition to these items? Hydra,
I think I should go last because I'm gonna hurt your feelings.
I know what you're gonna say.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'll do you that solid. For me, it's kind of like I feel like I've seen so many people give I know everyone here has heard the same thing. Oh, just make everything broken. Just go crazy. Just have fun with the patch notes. Because they're finally doing that.
Yeah.
And we're getting that from items. To me, like, I just think it's fun. And I think the only one I'm not super keen on, and this is only probably for at first, and I think they're aware of the same thing based on the build, is Fatalis.
Yeah.
It has that problem of, it sort of reminds me of how EU players treat Griffin Wing. I love EU players, but my God, do they love themselves some Griffin Wing. And it's just going to be one of those items that becomes a crutch again. We're going to see it a ton. because it's one of those things where it feels bad if you don't have it. The other ADC has it. You're going to see the Poseidons, the speed Sidons out there.
It's gonna be
And I really do like Fatalis as a concept, but and I'm excited to see characters like Freya, like Kronos, kind of jump back up and see a bit more of them. But I think aside from Fatalis, everything else I'm super excited to see, just because of the chaos of bringing back these fun items to bring characters like, I think of Erlang, I think of Kali and Stonecutting Sword, and Nemesis as being so iconic. You think of how many times can you think back to Iqbal and seeing, the on her boxing the Ho Yi with Iqbal and the passives going back and forth, and how much it matters with a pillar, and that those little tiny things that those items used to bring to the game are really exciting. And of course, the King Arthurs and the Glad Shields.
Oh god. So
Hate Soul ain't already, but gotta mention that, right?
So just touching on Fatalis, I kind of agree. So I did some testing. I didn't actually play a full PTS game, but I did hop on PTS and just kind of do some testing. So one thing I've noticed, and they still haven't changed this, is kin size, you don't get the full benefit of it for a hot second. And I don't even know if you necessarily get the full benefit of it period in most games. You do get it on most tanks, but I know you for like pre 9.5 revert, I believe you were also getting some benefit of it on carries as well. Now there's a high likelihood you may only get the tier 1 benefit as opposed to anything else, if even that, because of how like Kins was scaled up to 9.5 change. It has not been scaled back pre 9.5 change, and because of that, in my opinion, it's a useless item. And I did some calculating on like what is worth. Is it better to get because crit is dead, and we'll get to crit in a bit because Nemean has killed it, and there's no argument there. I believe Fatalis last item might be beneficial. Maybe you can slot it somewhere easier. I think the best spot for it will be that 6th item slot, maybe the 5th item slot.
Because you'll probably see a 3rd for mage ADCs.
Yeah. True. I haven't thought about mage ADCs yet, but we'll come back to that actually. But I think where you slot it on hunters might be either last or somewhere in that sweet spot of maybe 2nd, or maybe because I think the Aussie Ichavolt is just going to be the best. I think Aussie into Ichavolt with a Cowl or a DT.
Oh, I love Season 3.
I know, right?
Yep.
This has been my thing. Is I love Season 3 meta. But
it's gonna be beautiful.
I don't know how you slot this Fatalis in effectively outside of being 6th. That being said, the kite potential of hunters allows you to get more of those auto attacks in, despite doing a little less damage compared to something like a Titan's Bane or like a Kin Size or like an Odibo. I mean, you already have so much of the attack speed in the build with an Ichavolt. I don't think anything aside from a Fatalis is gonna.
You definitely will see it rushed in lower levels of amateur competitive play, though. You'll see it 2nd, 3rd item. Probably you'll see it first on characters like Freya, where they're going to rush through as much as possible. But because I mean, it sounds like if you cast the lowest levels of some of these amateur leagues, they genuinely are just building things they want to build, and sometimes it works better than you think. I've seen way too many builds work out where my tier 2 smack talked it for 15 minutes, but it's going to be that differential. Because we talked about the lack of pro. Aside from the Content Cup coming up this weekend, there's just the, it's just the amateur leagues. And I like the 6th slot. I kind of like it as rounding out a build. Plus, you've got that gas pedal online now to kind of finish things out. And I really like what you mentioned with the kiting potential, too, especially around objectives. I think that's a bigger thing people might not keep into consideration as much as they should.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, and this is arguably the worst version of Fatalis, which is interesting. Like, I know they said, oh, we're bringing all the items at their best. This is probably Fatalis's worst version. At the end of season, or it wasn't even the end, halfway through.
Aside from the OG version.
Yeah, the OG version.
The first buff version.
Yeah, that version.
That was okay.
30 attack speed, then the flat pen, and then I believe a bit of power on it, if I'm not mistaken, at one point.
Yeah, that was busted.
Maybe not that version. But yeah, I mean, Fatalis is Fatalis. We mentioned Ichavolt a little bit. Excited to see this. Encourages some boxing in lane. I think will help a little bit with that late game tanks not being able to kill you as effectively, especially like warriors. And I believe it works on magical, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a hot second since I worked this this item. Yeah, reduces your target's magical power and physical power. So
someone said the Fatalis passive is good enough with flat pen and attack speed, but no power is rough. and it's expensive. I will agree with the expensive, but I do want to mention because we're honing in on amateur specifically, which
Yeah.
ranked games, casual games are going to have their own styles. Competitive games, I have never seen this many kills ever since I have been casting. Not since I was practicing and learning how to cast Tier 2 in 2016 have I seen 100 kill games by 30 minutes, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot more gold from all that fighting, and you're finishing up items quicker. And like Book was mentioning, we might see it in some varied slots. So I think whatever was expensive before in your brain, this is what I did. I'm not telling you you're doing anything wrong, just what I did personally. I kind of like dropped everything by 100 gold. Just because the amount of fighting, the amount of shutdown gold that we're seeing is guys are getting on killing sprees so easy. There's a lot to kind of keep into consideration with that, with the particular style we're seeing in amateur competitive. Again, I'm not talking about like ranked or whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a good
I gotta
tip.
agree with that, yeah.
I will say though, like Fatalis is also interesting. I completely lost the thought. Like we used to see it built into characters like the Jingwei and like the Chronos, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think it'll work on Freya. I don't know if it'll work on Chronos, just because I haven't seen an attack speed Chronos build in a hot second. Like it's all ability
The character's
based.
just bad.
That too.
Yes,
that too.
I agree with that.
Buff Chronos.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's move on to Ikavul and like other items. Like Ikavul would be good. I think just because it helps keep the warriors from killing you as effectively in the late game. Which I think it is at its weakest then, or one could argue, because it used to be this bridge item. We mentioned Stone Cutting Sword, OP. I mean, tanks are going to be OP next patch, man. Like, that's...
I'm so happy.
They're already pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Sorry, Hydra, I know I'm seeking blasphemy for solo support players out there. But...
Yep. Nah, I'm going to have a great time on this patch. Oh, man.
I'm not. I'm not.
You're gonna be miserable. I'm gonna love it.
This is okay. I think last patch 9.5 ADC was the worst role, but
it
like
still felt good.
It wasn't in a state where it was like below like to here. Like this was the next best role. It was kind of like just below it that little bit. And part of that was because ADCs just got to farm on the map. They really didn't have a big impact on the game until the late game. Now. I think it's cooked. I think it's so cooked. I think ADCs are done. We're going to be useless until we're 6 items.
I think we might see a resurgence of assassin ADCs again.
I've already been cooking the set, man. I think the set could
set
cook.
ADC gonna be fun.
And ability-based
I'm looking for those Tsukuyomis, those Klinos.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Clear ADC is going to be fun. Oh, man. I'm so excited for that.
I do think ability-based hunters still have some merit, though. Like Chiron. We've already seen a bit of Chiron. I think we could see more Chiron.
Chiron wasn't touched, right? Just Medusa?
Just Medusa,
yeah, just Medusa.
And no ability item changes as well.
We're
so like no Jotuns, no Crusher.
Right.
So all those items are still really strong. Keeping assassins and the mage, the ability ADC is still really strong. Hydra, we never talked about your favorite item and least favorite item.
Yeah, let's see. Well, my favorite item, I think. Oh, I mean, we're already hovering over it. Actually, it's actually really funny. Ring of the Kate. Yeah, Ring of the Ring of the Kate. I really miss seeing magical ADCs. I really do just miss seeing them in my games.
Who hurt
like
you?
They're really fun to lane with. Listen. I think they're personally really fun to lane with. Minus Freya. I hate laning with Freya, but Oleron, Chronos, Soul, Zhonghui ADC. Oh yeah, like all of those picks, man. Like I just really like I just like seeing them in my games. And for them to get this item back, where I think maybe magical ADCs have been like a little bit of more of like a niche pick, or they've been really struggling lately. Them getting a good item like this back is pretty awesome. They do lose Hasten Ring though, so like Freya loses her first item that she liked to build, but she gets Hasten Fatalis.
And let's not forget how good it is now Kwong as well.
Oh, exactly. This is actually so true. Ao Kwong Prophet. Mon also got buffed this patch, and she got some decent items out of this too, so I'm happy. But yeah, so this is my favorite item. My least favorite item, it's gonna be shocking. It's Shifter Shield. Yeah. So I will be building this item literally every game. But I hate items like this. I just dislike items that are like so overstated to where you feel like you just need to buy them. So in my role right now, in support, I've always been a Gauntlet of Thebes hater. I think it's really boring to stack, and I like getting more active early. So for us to be able to go like Archdruid's Fury first or Mail of Renewal first, and it still be completely viable. I like that. This item though is literally just better. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's still like really, really good. 300 HP, 30 prot, so 30 of each prot. 20 HP, 5 perfect stats, and then the passive gives you 20 of each prot. You're joking. like
yeah,
what
it meshes well
is
with the fighting too at the moment because you're spending a lot of time under 75% HP.
Oh yeah, like if it was like 58, like 50%, I don't even think it'd be like that insane because you might just die really quickly. But like, I mean, if I'm like roaming like Bull Demon side or I'm invading a Tiki, I'm probably gonna be below 75% of the HP like when I'm walking over there anyway. So I'm just gonna be infinitely tanky. This would be a really good first or second item, I think. First item is gonna be Candy's Cure, so I can turbo build this. I'm not even joking. Like, imagine, man, 30, 300 HP. You have 600 HP in 2 items, man. That is not fair.
Right, like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to conceptualize.
Yeah, I think I'm going back to the kin size, I guess. Last item, next patch. Holy cow.
Yeah, ADCs that don't build it, like, I'm gonna build Thorns first. I'm locking in Bacchus. I'm running at you. Hide Anemians third. Like, I'm gonna have a great time on this patch.
Well, so, speaking of Hide Anemian, 15% reflect damage. 15%.
I will say, I think this item's only insane on like Kuzenbo with like his 2 popped.
I disagree. I think this is good on just about any character that's goal is to die of the backline.
Yeah, I think it's just still really good on most people. But like Kuzenbo, man.
Oh yeah, it'll be spikes. Core Kuzenbo.
Maybe he pops Thorns with it. You're dead.
Yeah, you're cooking, Eric.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cooking in chat. Someone said that's a good thing to mention. Smite 2 is addressing the overset item problem. Yeah, that's cooking. Because I really like the concept of there's items you build if you want stats, and there's items you build if you want things.
Yes,
I really like that.
I agree. I like the direction they're going with a lot of the items in Smite 2. You know, we saw like during the first tournament, we saw like the heavy metal meta where people were like building multiple heavy metals to shred objectives and stuff.
Yeah, there was a death metal combo. We saw the mushroom. I know I was screaming about the mushroom on cast.
The mushroom's OP,
nonstop.
bro. Mushroom's OP.
That was what I brought to that day of casting. Was just screaming about how much I like the mushroom. Can we get a mushroom in Smite 1 so everyone can just finally see how good it is?
Can someone explain the mushroom to me? I was very confused for a long time about
it. It was like. Yeah, think of med, but like AoE med, you place it down and it's like significantly more HP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
and they can stack.
Yeah, and it can stack. So you use like 3 mushrooms. You could go from 20% HP to 100% HP. Like,
and it works with Fire Giant as well. So you grab a Fire Giant late game. You've got Ancient Fury down. So you've got the Phoenixes frozen.
Yeah, you would see like solo laners and supports, and then we had our support solo and our jungler because we were building hybrid junglers during the tournament because Fenrir was OP. And we'd all 3 build mushrooms. So whenever we siege, we would triple mushroom in the bird.
Damn.
Yeah, it was just insane.
Sounds kind of broken, not gonna lie.
It was a fun item. Really, really fun item.
Shield of the Phoenix is new old Glad Shield. Thoughts on
old Glad Shield?
Yeah. Thoughts on bringing old Glad Shield back into the game?
I like it in the sense of again bringing some characters back up we haven't seen in a bit.
King Arthur, and
he's kind of the biggest one I can think of. I'm sure I'm not a big Soul Lane guy, so I'm sure there's gonna be like 20 more dropped in a second. I'm gonna feel silly, but I always like seeing it on characters like King Arthur. Achilles used to be somebody who would stand out obviously as well because it would have really good synergy with us too. But just overall, I feel like. I don't know. It goes into. I feel like we've seen so much of like, here's reasons to fight. Here's items that encourage fighting. Here is items that are a little bit cheaper that you're getting quicker if you're fighting. Here's snowball-y mechanics. I don't know. I like that style of play. I think it's a little more interesting to watch. And I feel like too. I know we're about to get into this, so I guess I'll kind of set the table for it. But a lot of these items, I feel like synergize really well, especially now that we're figuring out what kind of nerfs for characters were needed post the revert of everything, which that was sort of the biggest elephant in the room was that like, you know, none of the characters had been touched. So it was just kind of open season on what was going to happen. And we got our ideas pretty quickly. Like, thank goodness Mulan got 75 nerfs before Shield of the Phoenix showed up. Not that she's still not going to be, top prio, but
that's going to be pretty interesting. Also want to know it can be purchased on Magicals this time around, which was not the case before. Cthulhu Ardio stands out to me as a character that can really abuse
Ardio's a good one too.
Yeah, just any stance changer really. So I quite like
Who's going to be the first one to cook with hell?
So just so you guys also know, because it's listed later, but my mom got a really spicy change that lets her proc items by like 100%. So she just cancels her one on repeat and just keeps procking that shield. It's gonna be great.
Oh.
See, if only Sunprod had made Content Cup, that would have been a Sunprod
I know.
buff.
Oh man, Sunprod buff all day.
Where is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, so increased healing from item procs 25% to 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
also, she gets a good starter now for solo lane. She gets Vamp Shroud now because it will proc at 100%. So woo.
oh, that's true actually. So yeah, Maman solo coming to games near you. We're bringing back the mage solo lane meta from last season.
No, never again, please.
Yeah, I mean we can move on from items. I think we've talked about it far
Heck
enough.
Yeah, I think they're exciting, but
outside of like the major like god balances, like obviously we're seeing Medusa bans, some Mulan bans, Kukulkan ban, or nerfs, excuse me, not bans.
No, they are getting banned though. You're not wrong.
Yeah. You know, Yanis ban is a little interesting. I'm kind of surprised. I haven't seen a lot of Yanis personally in amateur, maybe in ranked here and there. But
I feel like Giannis might be one of those characters because I know a lot of times in patch notes they've addressed that they see stats from everything that's kind of as a whole. I could see Giannis being a character that's a bit of a pub stomp right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The damage he can bring early on if you get actually hit your combos and stuff. I could see him being impressive in those levels, but I also have not seen a lot of them in competitive.
Exactly.
Probably and when I have, it's probably middle levels of play. Mostly.
Yeah.
He's too tough for lower levels.
I agree. Yeah. Like he'll like beam you and then just go through a wall and they're like, oh my god, the god's OP, nerf it, and I'm like, okay.
Or they go blink and they just die on cooldown because they have blink instead of Aegis. That's my favorite.
So true. Or they go 80-0, so no in between. No in between.
There is no in between. Either they pop off or they don't. Agni finally getting some nerfs. I feel like we've seen this god all season long be part of the meta and finally getting tuned back a bit. I think that makes a lot of sense. Geb being nerfed. I mean,
GG.
I played against a Geb this Saturday for our OSL set. It was annoying until we got to late game. And then we just kind of bursted through the shield. I mean, like with an item like Envenom Nexi, I'm surprised the shield has been tuned back quite a bit. Or not quite a bit.
I think it's just another thing that goes into the style play against it, you know. I've seen Geb a few times. I can't recall in recent memory seeing Gebs that were getting dominated because you just simply, I mean, again, you know, you might have seen Envenom Executioner, but you weren't seeing as many auto attack ADCs, so that would hurt that. You know, half the player base doesn't know Erosion exists because it's not the greatest item in the world. So you kind of start putting all those things together, and I could totally see a world where he would feel oppressive, especially if you could get him rolling in a snowball comp. And to where that shield, I know, I doubled up. Where the shield is just too much, I could just, I will say the Bacchus thing is good too.
I think Bacchus definitely, a lot more than Geb. I think Bacchus been like running ranked. Like if you want to if you get stuck like filling support and you want like a blanket, hey, this pick's like decent, you know, it does damage, I'm locking in Bacchus. But yeah, Thanatos and Thor are up next in the line of nerfs. Thanatos, I feel like was kind of already on the way out. You know, he's still like, I think
it's
lower level lobbies is
stompy,
still like really
you know?
good. Yeah, exactly. But Thor, I think Thor's biggest nerf there is that his Amalgadon's getting nerfed. So like maybe you get the chance to Aegis, maybe you don't. We'll see.
Maybe. You mean to tell me I can counterplay an ability now from an assassin? That's crazy.
This is the same song and dance Thor gets every time too during a nerfs. He gets brought back to this spot. He'll live here for 3 months, and he'll be brought back to the top spot. He'll get one more nerf that brings him to the bottom, and then he'll be brought back up to here, and he'll feel the same way he feels, and it's just the life of Thor. It is what it is.
It's what it is. Yeah, exactly. When Thor's in season, I'm not. That's all I gotta say. I'm on Risk of Rain instead.
Hades has been buffed. Character we haven't seen in a while. Minor.
I love this buff.
Yeah,
I love this buff.
Minor adjustments to the ultimate because he's a character that really is useless without this ability.
True. Listen, support Hades coming to a bad news bearer game.
No,
boy.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. In no world.
We buddy it up. We buddy it up with like an ADC set, and I think we cook, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Kronos is getting some adjustments, some increased health, which he desperately needed. He was probably the squishiest long lane character, I think.
And the accelerate's gonna mesh pretty well with if you because like we talked about, Book, we haven't been seeing any attack-based Chronoses.
Yeah.
With the accelerate buff, maybe because you are getting it more often. So I could see a world where it's built, but it's still gonna have to be like the old Emilito builds. You know, we were talking about season 3 earlier.
And stuff.
It's gonna be things like that when you prop a Rod or you prop a Doom Orb at the end, and that's your power from it. It's gonna be weird builds, but that's kind of where Chronos works anyway, if he ever does work.
Yep,
exactly.
Kabrakan and Ymir buffs. The Ymir buffs I think are quite significant in this meta.
I think Kabrakans are also really significant.
Delo stocks up.
Yep, true. Delo stocks up. For real. But yeah, doubling Kabrakan's prots and making Ymir do more early game damage, huge. Love those.
Yemo's first ever since her release, her first ever buffs. First ever buffs after what? 4 years at this point?
Yep.
4 years this character has existed and she's never been buffed. And she is receiving her first buffs now.
I will say, I'm excited to see more Yemoja because I enjoy the character.
All right.
However, she's still not good, so it is what it is. She's been overly nerfed, so why would you play her when you could play Fafnir, who's next up?
Yeah, this one's kind of crazy.
40 seconds in Dragon form, bro. Level 1. Listen, SK Peso stocks up, actually.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So, listen, if this buff comes out, man, maybe they go to LAN. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, you combo this buff with the Mammon buff for Sunprod, with the new old Glad Shield for SDF.
These buffs came one patch too late, boys. I'm so sorry.
Exactly.
That's the new drama of the Content Cup, that these buffs were targeted to go after Team SKK, so I can already see the Twitter threads.
New drama, as if SCCC hasn't had enough drama already. Erlang Shen getting his knockup back on his turtle form. Excited to see more combos with this character again.
Yeah, I love this. Erlang Shen's been struggling to be relevant for a while, and I think this is just a change that everyone was like, "Hey, if you bring this back, he'll be good." Now we get to see if that's true. So yeah, I think he'll be good, but I just want to see him get played more. So it's huge.
We do got stuff.
Chalk's such a weird character for me, man. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're
just
good.
like when I see buffs like that for Chalk on paper, they always panic me. But then I just don't see him for months at a time.
Well, then he gets like 12 buffs in a row, then it's like insanely OP.
Yeah.
And then like he's slept on. So.
Nox getting some adjustments more in the mage department versus like the supportive department. I think
they've been trying so hard to do that for so long.
Yeah,
they want that character played in the mid lane, and it's just they can't lock it in enough.
No, I don't think so either.
I think just make her support at this point, man.
I agree.
Not biased at all, by the way.
Set getting buffs, which I kind of like these changes. They aren't buffs to his like damage numbers or anything. They're just minor like quality of life.
He needed
changes.
a reason to be picked up.
Yeah.
Aside from damage, kind of like the OG problems that Kali would have, you know.
Yeah.
Like 33 minutes in, she's insane. But why am I picking her before that? What does she actually bring to the table? Yep. And they solved a little bit of that. So the set's a good call.
Izanami getting buffed on a patch where Ikavol, Aussie, and Fatalis are seeing play potentially is
cool.
Gonna be
interesting. I got another season 3 reference for us. Xenotronic stocks up.
Oh god, dude.
True.
I still have flashbacks of Xenotronics Izanami mid. Just watching them lose that set, man. I swear.
Ooh.
It wasn't even the Izanami, man. It was literally that Dimmy gets a 2-3 man fearless, man.
Yeah, but it's more fun to play him the Izanami.
Oh, definitely.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It's his fault.
Nut getting some buffs. We haven't seen this character really be viable yet, so excited to see Nut get buffed. That is her true name, not Newt. No one calls her Newt. Speaking of Nuts, Ratatasker, his Acorn's getting buffed.
Hey, Nova stocks up, actually.
True.
So,
yeah.
We take those.
Watch out, Crete.
Yeah, that's so valid. So valid.
Honestly, Proflux stocks up as well. Proflux loves this character.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's a rat guy.
Yeah, he's a huge rat guy. Raw stonks up. We saw so much Raw yesterday in Sparta, actually, and
yeah, which is surprising.
Yeah,
and he's about to get buffed.
He's getting buffed. Yeah, we're seeing he's gonna get buffed, man. We'll see him.
Hope to see more of Raw. Raw's always a fun character, I think, to watch.
Raw is always fun to watch, and so I'm excited to see more of him. But that was the patch notes. Good patch, bad patch. What do we think?
I like
good.
It. I think it's
I like more items. Yeah, I like more options.
I want more of it. I'm in that full chaos category. I'm in the full send.
No.
category of like just
yeah.
make the game chaotic and crazy and fun, because
That's true. I'm down.
It's, to me, it's kind of like what's a discussion not to, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe, and who knows, maybe we'll see it. Maybe we'll see it before the launch date. Maybe the next patch, if we see it, will be a little bit more out there. Maybe there'll be one or two crazy things, because I would imagine we'll see like one or two more of the weird character things they were doing towards the beginning of the patches too, where they said they were working on more. We haven't really seen what those more were, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, like, I do kind of have like some gripes with this patch of like there were some characters who didn't get touched, like Ishel and Chang'e, and I'm like, I feel like because they're doing these game-breaking patches back to back, they're missing some of the small things that really need to be looked at, like Chang'e and like the Lancelot.
Yeah, and I saw the reasoning for Chang'e was she hasn't been good in so long. We don't want to instantly kill her, and I get that.
That's fair.
You do run into tough discussions of, well, I mean, yes, she hasn't been seen in forever, but she's also not being seen because she's only being banned.
Yes.
And when she is picked, the game's just over anyway. So
yeah. That's actually completely true.
Speaking of games being over because of Chang'e, we played Chang'e game 1, and we can talk about our Warriors of Albion Sparta, or our set, but we could also talk about the other Warriors of Albion sets in general. Do we want to leave ours for last, Hydra, or?
I think so, because we're gonna go in depth about Spartas for sure.
Okay.
So I think we'll start with that. Then start from the top. Yep. So
this game got casted.
Week 1. It did. It was an Olympus Smite League. The Twitch channel, so go check that out. There's a VOD of it. But yeah, so Warriors of Albion ended up actually falling. They lose 1-2 to the Jungle Skogs. This by far was the match of the week. That was probably the Warriors of Albion's hardest matchup of this season.
Yeah, very upset I could not cast this game.
Yeah, it was like this was probably like these are what people would, at least right now, probably consider 2 of the strongest teams. Maybe not the 2 strongest, but 2 of the strongest. Maybe like they're in people's top 3 like very cleanly. So you have like had some really interesting moments. I think in game 2, I don't know if it was like maybe there was a comms mishap or something, but like so you Warriors Albion go to the Gold Fury, they take it. And then Skogs answer really well with like just pulling a fire giant, and they take it. Valve sees it, he tries to go stop it.
Oh, that was
he dies
game 1
for the attempt.
Yeah.
Oh, was it game 1?
Game 2
I think
they
that was
won.
Game 2.
Game 2 they won.
Yeah.
Game 1.
Well, that was game 1 then.
Game 1 we were watching them just go like one by one, like Lance to the Slaughter, just running it down. At the fire giant.
Exactly.
And
like
then,
Valve ends up dying to try and stop a fire giant from like getting pulled, and like him dying there, like whatever, like he attempted it, right? Then the other 4 members of WOA also just die.
Long after
it's like
Fire
20
Giant's
seconds
done.
later. Yeah, they walk into the fire pit and die, and then he TPs back in to try and clean up the fight because there are some low health bars. He ends up dying again, so he's died twice. He's burned his TP. But yeah, they do end up losing game 1. They win game 2, and then they lose game 3.
They get stomped game 3 though. Like that was rough. That was rough.
It was rough. I will say, Renown, formerly called Modago, is not beating the Thoth one-trick allegations, which I think he actually played really solid for the whole set. So, like, not to say that he was a bad mid laner on any other pick, but they did top 3 ban his Thoth in game 3 because he went nuclear on it. At least I think in game 2, he did earn the respect ban to have it get banned in game 3, and they end up losing. So therefore, you don't beat the allegations, buddy. Sorry.
True. So. If there's one thing I know, it's not beating allegations for being a one-trick on certain gods.
Jingwei.
Yeah. Which again,
well, let's see.
Not good next patch again. We'll see.
Yeah, I didn't get to see many of the games yesterday because I think I mentioned it lightly, but I won't be able to cast for a couple weeks of OSL, and I like to watch, but I haven't been able to.
Yeah, why is that, Anthony?
You have to have to hang and see. We'll have to hang and see.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely keep my Twitter is the same name as everywhere else. Definitely keep watching my Twitter.
Yes. We'll let you plug it in for sure, so people all get.
I started teasing something today, so that's all I'll say as I go to my Twitter. But I think the biggest thing that jumped out for me, I was looking through game 1. I kind of hate that comp that WoA pulled out. I'm not gonna lie. I can't.
100%,
I mean, and they're all names. These are names I've been casting for years, and like none of these names scream like, "Oh, this is my play style." Independently, and then the team itself doesn't feel like it's got that same kind of synergy. So what? I just wonder what the game plan if it was. I mean, it's into a team comp that has the exact opposite for me. I've seen all these players rock out these picks before, and the synergy is so good.
So
Yeah,
I think
100%.
that's the one thing I think Warriors of Albion have going for them is they're 5 players who work really well together. And if they're deathballing as a unit and like playing as a unit, they look unstoppable. It's, I think, the little things like the getting caught on your own on a fire giant, the 1-by-1 into a fire giant that's already been taken. It's the little things I think this team will really have to work on if they want to take the battle to Skogs again. And other teams that could potentially look to take them down. I mean, they didn't make finals, so they have to deal with the Skogs bracket, but I don't know, man. There are just moments where I'm like, this team can be so good, and they make such good mechanical plays, like Renown popping off on the Thoth, like we've talked about, like time and time again. But then also just weird oopses here and there, like Swagga just running it down from time to
Getting
time.
first blooded again, that was fun.
Got first blood in every game, I think. Or
I believe at least 2 games for sure. Maybe
games 1 and 2.
He was one of the first 3 deaths in the 3rd game for sure. I know that. But I think it's the Erlong buffs. He was like, guys, I want to try it out. Cook it up a build and just didn't have the impact he needed to have in game 1. Can't put all the fault on him in game 1 as well. I think But I mean, as we were saying, I think this team comp was interesting. I think Valve valued the Cerberus because some of his other picks got banned, and I think the Cerberus looked really, really good. The Yu Huang was taken for like a more like Cerberus and Artie are going to be diving, so we want a backland's kind of safe. Onher's already kind of safe with his pillar, but Yu Huang's going to be a little bit safer than the Thoth, I think. You can get away
I feel like the Erlang is kind of the standout for me of kind of like what's he doing,
He did go Archdruid 2nd and Xe 1st, and Aussie 3rd,
which probably felt like I imagine Swagga felt like he just wasn't surviving any dive attempts because there was nothing really to support his dive. So maybe that was the route he went.
Yeah, but like on the other side, we have Crojiro on Yamoja. That's literally like a Crojiro pick. He has like 5 really, really good characters, and he's like, solid other characters. But like Yamoja's one of his characters where I'm like, oh, he looks genuinely unstoppable in this pick. And like he just brings so much impact to the team. And he just pressed 4 sometimes and won fights off of it. Dento had a really solid game on Hunbats. Clutch was playing Kukulin. Nothing to say about that. It's Kukulin. And Gabe Ethan on Agni, just comfort pick for him, And Wake was playing Hachi, safe hunter, just vibing.
Yeah,
so I feel like they just had a better vibe going into that draft. I think I don't know.
If Renown's not beating the Thoth allegations, Dento's not beating the Hunbots allegations.
Man. That's so true. That's so true, man. Dento Hunbats 1 trick confirmed.
True. Let's talk Delphi here. The only thing that bothers me, I mean, Delphi the Delphi WOA team, they end up losing to the crew. 2-0. The only thing that stands out to me, and it burns me with the passion of 1,000 suns, is that Cheese built Diamond Arrow game 1. And in my opinion, that is Gilded Arrow is the worst hunter starter out of the 3 right now. Because Death's Toll and Cowl gives you pressure and sustain. Gilded Arrow gives you farm for late game, but you're sacrificing all that neutral farm because you cannot contest these neutrals.
Yeah. I will say, I think in game 2, I mean, in game 2, the crew had a 16-3 and 7 Willix.
That's
so. I mean, I'm joking. I'm not gonna go Jung.
Well, Aristic did kind of carry both games, 16-3 and 11-2.
11-2.
The Rizzler is a player who I feel like has kind of always been a little overlooked because he's kind of, he's kind of a bit of a meme lord type of vibe, but he's pretty consistently been a really good player, and I've seen him play 3 roles, and I've never seen him be bad in any of those 3 roles.
Yeah.
So just the Aristic.
I also do want to point out too, the crew did Evan Lee Kidd. I'm not sure if he's one of those players. I know there's always been the memes of the SDL having their own little like SDL had its own cutoff world. Evan Lee Kidd was one of the top ADCs for the original season of SDL and was kind of just a Rama 1 trick literally through the finals. I know, like, to the point where in their grand finals game they won Evan's team because Evan got a dashing in Rama 1v5 triple kill because I called it.
Dang.
So it's one of those things where, like, it's been a few years now, and Evan had a break from comp and got to come back, probably be a little more unknown to some people, and got to play his comfort god. So
2 games in a row.
Yeah, so we'll see if that. I'm curious if that's going to keep up next week, or if somebody will have that game film, or have the obviously I just said it. But you can also just read onto it. You can look at the stats and be like, man, those are some numbies coming out from the Rama, and he was kind of playing his own game. You can tell by the build. going super heavy crit. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think
I
this
don't
is
know.
the build, by the way.
I'm not saying it's
Aussie-
bad. I'm just saying it stands out in this page in particular.
Yeah. No, but I think this is like the best like ADC build right now. Is the Aussie into Rage Dom, Deathbringer, and then Demon Blade last, because it's like you
could
got
go
so
Until,
much.
until tomorrow.
Well,
Yeah, until tomorrow.
yeah. I mean, like
Tomorrow that's basically a 13th reason.
yeah.
Yeah. I will say, I think talking about Aristic again, I mean, you're putting up numbers like that in the jungle. That's one really quick way to get target banned in your next set.
That is true.
Like straight up.
That might be a problem actually against teams that go against the crew, because
Yeah.
Rizzler's got a god ocean from playing all those different roles.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see kind of how teams kind of like want to deal with the crew Delphi. I'm really excited to see how they like what kind of strategies they cook up. But I think moving on to Crete.
Yeah, this was fun to watch.
Cretans.
The
This-
Majin
okay,
Busha ADC, man.
The boosh.
This was a time, man. Listen, so it's a little bit of backstory here. I have friends on both teams, right? So both of those teams have people that go to my school. So they're
wow.
in my server, and they're like, "Oh, you're going down, bro! Like your team's the worst team in Crete, Lamau." Like it's just so funny. They're beefing all day. They end up going into this game, and where's Albion? End up taking the win 2-1 against Royal Jesters. And in the match report it says Big Scary Dargans, you're next. So look out Big Scary Dargans for Wars Albion next week. But yeah, again, Majin Busha was ADC this week because their main ADC, Mami Sofa, was unavailable for the week, so Majin ended up subbing the role.
Do we know
Cypher?
if Noxus was drunk?
Noxus may have been. I'm pretty sure he was 5 drinks in. I'm pretty.
That's
sure.
a really important factoid to know for this
Yeah.
game.
He was
I
cooking.
remember hearing a column that he was 5 drinks in at some point.
Well, that's why they won.
Okay.
Whenever
yeah,
that fifth
exactly.
drink
Well,
hit is probably game. I would wager it was like game 3.
Did you see
Well, I will say-
the 1v4?
Yeah, I will say Noxus did get a 1v4
Of course he
clip
did.
on
Of course
Mulan.
he did.
I'll see if I can
As
pull
he
it
was
up
about
on stream
6
real
drinks
quick.
in, man.
Hang on.
Every time I
It was
cast
work, it was
Noxus,
work.
there's like a 1v4, there's like a 1v5, there's a base defense, there's a fire giant steal, and he'll
Yeah.
be. It's usually always been a recast. He'll be in the chat like, "I was so drunk when I did that."
Yeah, dude. They're
I believe
talking
my
about
quote
it, bro.
was he was a drunk Super Saiyan in a greasy tank top when he played
Heck
Cthulhu.
yes.
Because I watched the guy defend a base like 3 times and his team won the game.
All right, we'll briefly watch this real quick. This is it's not the best quality, but like because
good
part
enough
of
to
it's
get
just
it.
cut off, but like yeah, just like
Mulan, am I right?
oh well, exactly. Like
Mulan.
on Mulan. Like by the way, a lot of Sparta games, and we'll get to this in a bit. The Mulan went very late in the draft, but it's like gets the
find
first
that
Or
one.
so
unpicked and
insane.
unbanned. There was once where it went unpicked unbanned. I forgot which
Yes!
set that
I've seen
was.
that a couple of times around that same level of play, and I still can't get used to it, and I can't
Yeah.
comprehend why that's been a
Like
thing.
this fight right here is like a great example. He literally like 1v4s his team does Fire Giant. Like they just win the game off this, by the way.
Like all his teammate did there was get in his way. Like
Yeah.
love you, Barky
Yeah.
J, but like that was Noxus versus the world.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just
literally.
zoning for the rest of the team to just get Fire Giant. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
crazy.
Yeah, it was actually insane. If you guys get a chance to like look back at that cast, first of all, Majin Busha streamed it on Twitch, so go check that out. Noxus also streamed on his Twitch, so go check out Noxus' Twitch. But the comms in that fight were like, "Hey man, you're gonna gank." He says, "I'm fine. I'm locked in. I'm fine. I'm fine." They're afraid, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then they just win
Oh
the
my
game.
god,
It
I
was
love
so
that
funny,
so
bro.
much. That's my goat.
But I mean, I think again, as Words Albion Athens had their hardest matchup this week, and they ended up falling 1-2. I think Crete also had their hardest matchup in Royal Jesters, and they ended up pulling ahead and beating the poverty org allegations and win 2-1.
True. There's so many
So-
wars.
It looks like that
Albion
game 3 was a
allegations.
war too.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
This
oh
was,
yeah, it was.
This was a long one to watch. Yeah, I mean it was cool because it was me, Hydra, and like a couple of like other Warriors of Babylon teammates. And this is the cool part about like Warriors of Babylon, the org. Like I've never felt more connected, one could say,
Yeah.
with the other teams, like the Crete and the Delphi team. And
Like, you want
that's
those teams
so
to
true.
win, and you want to watch them.
yeah,
Right?
there's this sense
so
of like
true.
family and like camaraderie around the whole organization of like us cheering on the Athens teams and like us cheering on like each other's teams and like like
Yeah.
we were watching Sparta matches yesterday because we had played our set on Saturday, but we also had Majin Bush's tab open that we were keeping tabs on of like what was going on and like cheering them on and losing our minds when Majin wouldn't hit a fire giant or wouldn't use relics or something. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Trade live somewhere. Oh, it's so fun. Yeah, but I mean, I have to agree honestly. You know, like I captained for Wars Albion for 2 years. Well, 2 seasons, not 2 years. Jeez, that'd be multiple seasons. That'd be forever. But again, like I don't think there's another org that has really come close to making you feel as connected, like a cross division.
Yeah.
As Wars Albion has done. So shout out to WA. We are a biased podcast, but we still rep.
Yeah. And shout out to Busha for like creating that environment.
Yeah, exactly. Came over from AGL, Albion Giants League, and made an org in OSL. I think the sense of community that AGL already has is kind of transferred over to the organization. So big shout outs, honestly.
Let's talk about Sparta.
Sparta. Talked about it a little bit before, but you guys played ahead of time. You guys played.
Yeah, we were the first set of the week.
A day before. Yeah, you were, and I'm not gonna lie, you guys made it hard to follow up a performance like this.
I mean.
Listen, no. Listen, it was a clean 2-0.
No, it wasn't. I got soloed 3 times in game 2 by Cornicle.
You did.
It was not a clean win from the boys. Let's make
Cornicle
that
stocks up.
Cornicle stocks are up, man.
He went 7-1-7. Cornicle went 7-1-7. Soloed Spirited Book 3 times in that set. Oh, in game 2 specifically.
Game 2. Game 1 I cooked. Game 1 it was fine.
Yeah.
We played really well, I thought. Like both games went around the same way where like actually game 1 they had like an 11-3 kill advantage over us. But we were still like even in gold and we just played the farming game. We mentioned the Chang'e earlier. We put the Chang'e in jungle because we feel like that's a little easier to not worry about matchup dependent for that character. Right. That was a lot of fun, and like Zexy has proven time and time again that the Chang'e jungle works. I feel like both teams were a little unprepared in terms of drafts for each other just by way of how drafts went. I mean, we got Chang'e, Cthulhu, and Horus, which are like some of our top picks. And then Halanu and I just slotted with 2 hunters to follow up.
You were like, we just picked 2 hunters.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to either play Chiron or Marty, and Halanu wanted Marty, and I just played Turnabog to just help dive. Yeah, it felt a little awkward. We definitely have stuff to work on, but it did feel like pretty, like was not worried we were going to lose. Game 2, yeah, we definitely shit the bed quite a bit in the early game. Someone definitely did. I don't know who on our team. Definitely have to have a team.
I was going to say, what are you getting Cornicle for Father's Day? I know it passed, but belated gifts are still really important.
That's so true. It's so true.
A lot of credit to Cornicle. Went back and watched his stream, and he didn't.
He did get costed.
Well, he just kind of like he killed me, and then he was just like, "Yeah, okay, on to the next one." Like he didn't like gloat. He didn't like. It was like the rest of his
tasteful.
team. Yeah, very. He was. Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. So Cornicle's
so
a
shout
cool
out to
guy.
Cornicle.
Yeah, shout outs to Cornicle. Despite dying 3 times, I still went 7, 5, and 6 on Hachi with the full pen build, which was fine. But it was interesting to note both games ended the same way in that we killed Starry Zacuti, their soul laner, at the start of both end fights because he was too far forward to the rest of his team. Game 1, it was a blink Chang'e over the wall and to just ult him and then stun lock him in place with a Horus follow-up. Game 2, it was Starry just overextending on Ardio while the rest of the team was doing fire. We killed Starry, took the fight despite them having fire, and then just won, and then won the game immediately after that. So it was like just the same way both games. Blaming Starry, not nice arrow. I mean, Starry is the problem. No, it was
Starry's the problem. Starry on trade block.
It was just well, he's the captain. It was just interesting that like
transfer captainship trade block.
Both games ended the same way. But yeah, I feel like we have a lot to work on, but it went really well.
Heck yeah. Well, I mean,
I hated that game. I hated that, Anthony.
It maybe wasn't the cleanest smite you've ever played, but it was still a 2-0.
You're not coming back, man. God damn it. Yeah, I agree. It was not the cleanest. We have a lot to work on. We're not scrimming until tomorrow, obviously. And then we'll get the grind on and we'll We'll see what works, what doesn't. If I get to play the game next patch, which I'm very curious about. I don't think I will, but yeah, we'll see. We'll wait and see.
Yep.
Yeah. KWM versus Bards, we're not going to talk about that because you can tune in tomorrow night on Tuesday. OSL will be bringing that cast to you on the OSL channel, so you guys can watch
go
it
find
there.
out from them.
Going Ghost versus Fallen Angels. A lot of 2-1 sets today, by the way. A lot of 2-1 sets in Sparta.
Love to see that.
Going Ghost 2-1 Fallen Angels, which was interesting to watch. Some interesting god picks. I mean, we saw Soul in this matchup, which haven't seen a whole lot of Soul as of late.
Yeah. I'm always a fan of seeing Sylvanas get locked in, you know? So, like, I was actually really happy to see this.
Yeah, it did go 0-5-5, though. So,
you know what? Maybe there's a reason we don't see Sylvanas that much. But, you know, I'd still like to see him. I still liked it.
It's Sylvanas into
Bugle Wizard, my goat.
Ardio and Bacchus, dude. You're not going to have a fun time.
True. That's so true. I'm sure he was miserable.
Royal Jesters take on Blood Wardens, which is we watched this set.
Yeah,
this was a lot of fun. It was quite interesting to watch.
The second game of this set was both teams took turns on who wanted to lose more.
Anthony,
like that's what it was.
Let me set the scene here. Let me set the scene.
Yeah, please.
All right. I'm trying to recall all the details of myself because it's been a hot minute. But if I recall correctly, it's first of all, RJ are not winning this set. They're losing this game too. They kill 2 people, which is great. This is like late game at this point. Like everyone's full built. There's a Scylla on RJ's team. There's a Discordia on the other team. Looney Tunes on Rama is dead for RJ, so no ADC.
That's true.
They are DPSing Fire Giant. They are on the Fire Giant RJ. Blood Wardens are there with their Discordia. And Chalk and I want to say either Trilva or Tactical. Skull Apples Drowsy on Scylla. They kill him, and then Skull steals away Fire Giant. Enhanced Fire Giant this stage in the game. Blood Wardens all have it because they've all respawned, and they run it down middle. There are tier 2 towers up. They run and try to end the game. It is so close, it's not even funny. And a clutch Terra ult pops so many people on the side of Blood Wardens as they're trying to end the game. They all die on the side of Blood Wardens, and RJ counter end by running it down middle. It was insane to watch.
Crazy.
But by the way, like everyone in the VC's like, oh, I don't know what they end here. I was like, no, guys, they end here. They have Scylla with Polly. They have barely enough structure damage to tear through the towers. We're so good.
Most importantly, though, they had Divine Barrier for the record to end the
game.
They
did. That's so true. The Divine, listen. If they build any differently there, if any relics are down, they don't end the game there because, like, right when they ended the game, there were 4 people on 1 second respawn timers. It was actually nuts. It was so
game 3 ended my most favorite way personally. RJ have the advantage. They have Fire Giant. They're pushing down left-hand side. Mario Bro ADC is playing Ishtar. Mario Bro does the Ishtar thing. Ishtar thing. He went to 1-3 and he only hit the 3 key. And he dashes into 4 or 5 people and died.
I will say he's owned that mistake. He's clipped it himself and put it on his own Twitter. So you can see his POV of it because he did it and he was like, "Hey, guys, I'm kind of dead."
I'm just kind of skipping around match reports but bam, I just caught Death Muffin's.
Oh
game.
yeah,
that's crazy.
Death Muffin stocks up. Yeah. So back to Athens, by the way, guys. Death Muffin won like 13-1.
13-1. Where was this?
It was Royal Jesters. He had a Mulan game where he went 14-3.
Whoa!
And then the Cullen game where he went 13-1.
Yeah, Deb Muffin was carrying around Elder like Luke and Yoda.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, it was actually insane. Elder was like what 6'8" and like 16, I think, and then Elder was like 2-11. Yeah, Elder was impact jungler. He made space. Impact jungler, guys.
Deb Muffin said, "I'm the jungle now."
He said, "I'm the team now, bro." Like he put the team on his shoulders. He said, "Hey guys, I want to win a set. You know, I got traded week 1, like whatever." So he said, "You guys want to trade me for Aztec? I'm gonna show you the value you got out of that trade." And he went nuclear. he went nuclear that set.
Unlucky.
So, yeah, so Jester's actually loving, that trade. And not to down on Aztec. His team did win as well. They also won 2-0, but Aztec proved why he was a great trade benefit.
Surely.
To his team. So love that.
Heart Showers took on Wailing Banshees in Sparta.
Banshees do win that.
Tort went 12-1 and 14 on Daji in game number 1. I don't know if anyone else saw that.
It's true.
But
it's true. I did see that. So Tort value up.
And
Tort stocks up.
Airhead played Cleo mid, which I'm not really sure about why that's a thing, but it was.
They were cooking in the draft, but Tort does have an amazing game 1. Game 2 was like
1-9.
reverse amazing. It was like reverse amazing actually. 1-9 on the Susanoo. And then he goes back to Daji and goes 4-2 and 10. So,
I like Forerunner a lot. Kind of hate seeing them rock the Kuzenbo as a one trick in that
Who
set.
is
'cause I feel like
Forerunner?
I've just cast a lot of Forerunner. I don't know them personally or anything.
Yeah.
But every time I've cast Forerunner, I feel like I like the kind of pick that I think of when I think of Forerunner is like an Achilles.
Okay.
Type of selection. So seeing the Kuzenbo and seeing it kind of do okay makes me wonder if that could be a spot where you could see some changes going forward. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, Forerunner is the captain of this team.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they were just top picking it, and it was like
they
blanket,
are.
like okay, like we have nothing we really want to top pick. Maybe his guys are getting banned out. Who knows? But yeah, maybe like in the next week, see like a better, like stronger performance. See some depth moving levels of performance from Forerunner.
I don't know if we'll see that, but maybe.
I don't think Moofy's gonna see that kind of levels of performance again from Moofy. He's gonna get target banned, bro.
Big scary.
Best of ones are Mickey.
Yeah, big scary Dargans prove the best of ones are Mickey and 2-0 the crew. The crew playing with a bit of a sub here. You got Adora playing ADC. Adora, a fresh trade. Which we haven't talked about yet. We'll get to the trades in a bit. But Adora has been brought over to the crew. And then Proflux playing jungle still. Adora plays ADC. Adam subs in game 1 to play with the crew squad.
Adora is kind of known as a support for NA, but I actually am pretty familiar with Adora's ADC from EU leagues.
Yep.
Oh, is Adora an
the
EU
Zhong
player?
ADC is like a staple Adora thing.
Is Adora an EU player?
I genuinely don't know because
don't
it's
think so.
played in both leagues.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
They
know
just
they're
played a
like,
lot
I
of
mean, there's
leagues,
been times
so.
where it's like where I've seen AGL, SDL, GSL, F, a few others all kind of at the same time.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I know their main role is jungle, which is what they have been playing in OSL.
That makes sense. I've seen them fry on support too.
By this game, they play Zhong ADC, go full attack speed, and kind of cook a little bit for a while.
Oh, it was OP.
And
I loved it.
then, I mean, Halanu and I were kind of talking about it, and
Ooh, the last grasp at the end is crazy tech.
It was a mantle.
It was mantle.
Yeah.
But he needed more damage.
And it wasn't like they're ending the game and they sell for more damage.
Over half of the Lancelot's health with the shield.
Yeah.
With just his 3. And I'm like,
yeah, it was kind of insane. It was actually insane.
You're putting the Jingwei back in the closet and taking out your Zhong.
I
stuffy.
have a mean Zhong Kui, man. I
can't wait to see it, bro.
I played in the season 6 Zhong Kui ADC meta, man. That was those were the days. Those were the days.
Can't wait to lane with my Zhong ADC.
You know it, man.
Bad News on 3.
The proper build is full ability based, though. I think I'm not a big fan of this attack speed build. I understand why they've gone for it, but I think you just go.
Ring of Hacate's gonna cook, man.
Ring of Hacate will cook. I will say that. But game 2, it's a little less fortunate.
Successful.
Yeah. I mean, Halano and I were talking about it. Proflex needed to have a good game. With Adora being traded to this team, crew are looking to make changes in their roster, and Adora being a solid jungler, know Proflex is on the way out to an extent, if Adora's on the way in. And so with that in mind, Proflex does not have the best of days and is likely Adora will start next week, assuming Trey is back in ADC next week.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I think I think I said it when we were in the VC together, because game 1, Proflex played Camelot's went 1-7-7. Game 2 went 3-9-3 on the Loki. I remember saying game 1, I was like, guys, I'm gonna say it. Proflux is making Camels look balanced, guys. I was like, this character is not looking
true.
that strong right now. I feel like if you can get to a point where like you're getting like one of these like stronger characters in the meta that everyone can kind of agree to, one of the stronger picks, and you're getting pretty early. And like if you're taking one of your top 3 picks in your draft and it's going 1-7-7, that never feels good as a team.
And a lot of credit to Ninja XK who made their Sparta debut this week.
Yeah, shout out to them. They looked really good.
Looked really good, especially against Proflux. I mean, I harp on the one play I saw. Halanu and I were kind of talking about the Loki pick versus the Sasano matchup, and Proflux runs at the enemy jungler for a bit, pokes him out, and then starts running away. And rather than going to his farm, Ninja XK follows him, blinks on him, and just bursts him down and gets first blood against Proflux.
Yeah, that was nuts.
I'm like,
that
damn,
was really good.
This guy knows, man. This guy knows what's up.
He knows ball.
He does know ball.
He knew ball.
We got to start wrapping up soon, so let's go quickly. Fagard was our last matchup of the day. Skogs and Kitsune, I believe, are playing on Wednesday. So that week 1 matchup has not happened yet. So Fagard take on Food Fighters. Fagard has Joev, a guy who has not won a set in a couple seasons. I think it's 3 seasons now at this point. Has not won a single set since then, since they won like their OSL back in the day. Congrats to him because he wins this one 2-1. Game 1,
close.
Fagard beat a comp that they really shouldn't have beat. I'm talking Ishel, Terra, Kukulin, Lance, Hachiman. They're against a top comp, and they beat it. And I'm like, damn, this is impressive. And then they get rolled game 2.
They looked really good. Yeah. Game 2 was not close. That was actually really unfortunate to watch. But game 1, I think, I think it went back to being comfortable. Joev was on Asilla, went 7-3-11, had decent damage as well. Slick 7-0-15 on the Shiblanke. Building the build, by the way.
The build.
And he did build the build. He teched the Kins in it last, which like I don't hate because it's last item, so it's whatever, right? But like, he's going crit, Death Toll.
Cameras.
But yeah, But game 2 was not particularly favorable for them.
No, Slick goes 0-9 on the Artemis with full. They didn't actually click the right screenshot. They didn't show builds, but Slick went the Artemis ability build, which I am not a fan of.
That actually messed me up. The fact there wasn't a build screen, I didn't even notice at first how crazy American Tangents went on the Pele.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 10-1-14. So I love to see American Tangents kind of popping off.
Yeah, and then tries to run it back in game 3. I mean, this was kind of close for a bit. It really was, again, Tangents running the early game on the Pele.
Yeah, so I like to see him going towards the style of pick if he's comfortable with it. Maybe his team just needs to not have a team comp that scales for the hyper late game if you have so much early game dominance.
So,
Nuwa, you have Ama.
Early with Murder, too. Look at the lack of anti-heal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, in my opinion, I think the Terra... Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I thought game 2, it would be a lot better. Oh, no, there's no Terra. Yeah, okay, no, there was Terra. Yeah, I thought that the Nuwa just probably wasn't going to do as effectively this game as it would in the past. Hunter is, known, quote-unquote, as a Nuwa one-trick, but, just not as able to be effective on this character. I agree, the lack of a divine here was really huge. No anti-heal outside the Envenomed. And it got to mid to late, and finally Poncho just gets the ball rolling, and they're just able to start making impact on the rest of the map. And they get the win. Joev gets his first win in a hot second, and congrats to him.
Yeah, no, love to see it. So, but I mean, that's the last Sparta match that's been played so far. Again, there's one more I think later in the week.
Yes.
So keep your eyes out for that one. It's Kitsune and someone else. I forget.
Yeah. Oh, and I believe actually there's a Sparta match happening tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Next week. Yeah. Scheduled for 8:30 today versus Fagard are going Ghost.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Which is hilarious. They get
that next week's matchup.
Yeah, that's next week's matchup. So they are
one more patch.
Yeah.
One more game on the old patch.
One more game on the old patch, dude. And then so they don't have to worry about scrimming for this weekend.
That's crazy. It's crazy tech actually.
They don't have to worry about.
OP tech,
they get 2 whole weeks of scrims on the new patch before they have to play a set, which is actually kind of smart.
Yeah, meanwhile, my Dargan's team is gonna play tomorrow on patch day.
Jesus.
So we love to see it, bro. We love to see it.
Oh boy.
It'll be fun. But yeah, well that's all the Sparta games.
Yeah.
So.
I think the patch will change a lot. in terms of
100%.
Agreed.
play styles and like how things work, and like there's just going to be such a huge change. We can't like
I know, but I'm excited to see it for sure.
we have to I know like our team definitely has to adapt for sure. Me personally, I'm gonna cry a lot. Last topic of the day will be the trades. A lot of transactions. Literally after we finished last week's episode of the podcast, a trade went through in transactions channel.
So funny.
That was Doomsauce and Adora being traded. Doomsauce going to the Bards and Adora going to the crew. And then of course Trio. I think it's Trioculate, if I'm not mistaken.
Trioculate.
Yeah. Is
Something
traded
like that.
to Heart Showers, and then Adam goes to the crew, and that's how we saw Adam play for the crew in that last matchup. And then I can't see some of these because of streamer mode, which is fun.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got
you
you
can
for
get
this
me
then.
real quick for these.
Yep. So Big Scary Dargan's Delphi end up trading Vriska to Food Fighters for Corksters. I think pretty fair trade there.
These
maybe just
Athens
playstyle
ones are
difference.
spicy when we get there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these are fun. Crete ends up trading Peaceful Mind to Heart Showers for Where Deline. My favorite trade. Where Deline.
Where Deline.
And then on the third, we had Royal Jesters trading Drew's Food to Fall Angels for Elder. So Elder ends up getting traded to Royal Jesters there. That's how we see that matchup happen. And then Food Fighters trade Desto to Big Scary Dargan.
This is the one that caught my eye.
Yeah, again, Stallone was going to be the starting mid laner. So Squish ended up drafting 2 mid laners, tried them both out in scrims and stuff, like the Stallone style a little bit more than the Garrett style, it seemed. And so he says, okay, so since Stallone's starting, we don't really need another mid sub. Let's just trade him so he gets a chance to start somewhere. And then Desto ends up coming over to Dargan. So welcome to the family, Desto. Welcome to the bench. It's warm and comfy. I kept it nice and warm for you, buddy. And then Delphi ends up dropping Joysticks Genetics.
Who?
These names are so funny, bro.
Yeah. I don't know who that is, but yeah.
It's
I
unlucky
also
because
don't know who
that
this
name got gassed up during the drafts just for no return on
Joystick
investment.
Genetics, man. He's genetics, but on Nintendo Switch, bro.
Yep.
Surely.
Yeah.
Wait, are joysticks
Yeah, no,
exclusive to the Nintendo Switch?
Well, I guess console just in general.
Yeah,
but
like,
surely
it's funnier
he's
to
playing
imagine.
Nintendo Switch.
Imagine this. My only time I've ever cast a player on Switch that I knew of was during a scouting game of SDL in 2022, and I watched the dude walk up to a Pyromancer, accidentally use Aegis, then ult the Pyromancer at full health, do like the slowest 360 turn I've ever seen in my life to a Thanatos who was just watching him like, "This guy, do you see it?" And he turned around and got one shot. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I found out that they were a Switch player afterwards, and I
a lot of
wasn't surprised.
Shout out to
It all made
Seahos.
sense. It all made sense after.
I think Seahos played either Golden Apple or Week 1 on a Switch, if I'm not mistaken.
It was Golden Apple.
Okay, it
yeah,
was
'cause
Golden
his
Apple.
PC blew up. Yeah, his PC exploded.
That's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Oh
So-
man.
And you know what he said? He said, I'm not gonna leave my team out to dry like this. I'm a win con. I'm gonna act like it. And he boots up his Nintendo Switch and downloads Smite on it, bro.
Damn.
Yeah, I know
And he played
Seahos is
Golden
competing
Apple.
in the Content Creator Cup. Got to bring the Switch just in case.
Oh, I hope so, man.
Oh,
Imagine
I
you,
hope- I hope
you
he
see them
brings it and,
sitting
like,
in
shows it in the
that would be
camera.
such
Yeah,
a
yeah.
meme thing to do, though. Just like it's like hold like when the camera pans to like the booths, they just like hold on a second, takes out
Yep.
the
He pulls
Switch
up
and
the
goes,
Switch.
It's got a bunch of
"Yeah."
stickers on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All the like the Smite World stickers and stuff that he would have gotten, bro. Oh, it would be OP.
That'd be so good.
But yeah. But I will say there's a lot of really, really good matchups coming up next week. We're gonna talk about those next week on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure to try and watch as many of them as possible. So you can kind of catch our analysis and overview of it next week here on the podcast. So,
Yeah, for sure. Just one quick thing I do want to note about the trade, obviously, like the trades channel. Obviously, week 1 just happened yesterday, and speaking as a captain, more trades are to come for sure.
Oh,
at
yeah,
least,
100%,
at least in
100%.
Sparta, and probably in every other division, I would imagine. Like we will probably see a flurry of trades this week and next week.
Yeah. I know
from
there's
multiple
at least one
rosters.
Athens trade that has not been posted yet. That's still getting discussed. Maybe it might be held off till week 2, pending results of a certain team.
Gotcha.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, not on the trade block necessarily, but people are discussing options for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Which is always
Yeah.
cool to see the behind the scenes now. Now that I'm a captain, I'm like, oh, I get to see all the behind the scenes. Ooh.
It's really fun.
I
That-
get
that
to
might
see
be
the
my favorite
behind the
part of
scenes
captain.
in so many of the amateur league discords. The amount of tea that I get, man, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's so fun to see the team in.
I got my notebook is filled.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Anthony,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us this week on the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. That was fun.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to do
Yeah,
one of
do you have
these in a
any-
while.
Oh, it's fun. Do you have anything you want to plug? Like your Twitter, your
Yeah, well, you're apparently doing some announcement.
I'll say, yeah, can't make any announcements, but I'll say you definitely go to my Twitter. It's just Anthony Malum, and follow that this week for sure.
Yeah.
And come the weekend, you know, Malum stocks up. I guess that's my
Malum
my plug
stocks
at
up
the
for
end.
real.
Yeah, Malum stocks up.
up.
But follow my Twitter throughout the week, and keep an eye on that. That's the big thing.
All right.
Heck
Well,
yeah.
thanks for coming again.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for watching. This has been our 3rd episode. It has been a blast to do this show so far. I've been Spiritedbook, joined here by Hydra, and our guest this week, Anthony Malum.
You know what?
Top tier go to caster. This has been the Warriors of Albion Greenroom podcast. We need a better name at some point, but little less, shorter name. But
Yeah, listen. Improvements made week to week.
Yeah, week to week, we're making improvements. As things stand right now, we're still posting on YouTube and Spotify. So go to youtube.com/spiritedbook to watch the past episodes and this episode that'll be posted tomorrow. It's also on Spotify if you're a huge fan of just like audio listening and if you're going for a drive or something and want to listen to Hydra, Anthony and I yap for an hour and a half. Like, go and listen on Spotify and more podcasting platforms soon to come, hopefully. But thanks for watching, guys. And I know, Hydra, you and I are going to play some Stellaris in a bit, probably on stream. If
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Chat wants to come hang out and watch us in a bit. But yeah, that'll be all for now. Thanks, guys. And same time, same place next week. And we'll see you guys then. Bye.